Hi, I'm Pam with PJ's Glass Creations, and I was given the task of coming up with something with the theme American West. So my thought was, what's more American West than a cowboy on horseback? There's some mesas, a sunset, maybe he's had a long day on the trail. So in this video, I am going to show you the steps that I took to come up with this diorama. Follow me, and you can make one too. I started with a piece of glass that was 7 inches by 12 inches. I made a nice gentle curve, and this is going to be my background. It's going to have my sky. It's going to have a little bit of landscaping. This piece here will go like this. It will also have some landscaping on it, and then I will even have a third layer in the front. But we're going to right now think about the sky. And for the sky, I want it looking like a sunset. So I am going to use some turquoise, and I'm going to sift it on to my background piece. And I'm not going to do a lot of turquoise because if it's if the sun is setting, you're going to have a lot of reds and oranges, yellows maybe. So I think that's about all I'm going to do. I didn't even need a fraction of what I had put in here. By the way, if you're working with powders, you should have a mask on. Always really important. Now, because the yellow and the orange will have a reaction with the turquoise, I am going to put a layer of clear over the turquoise. And hopefully this will help with some of that reaction. This will act like a barrier. Now I'm ready for my orange and my yellow. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I know these other areas, the blue's going to come through. Maybe we'll put a little bit of orange down here. I think that'll be good. Since it is sunset, the other thing that I am going to do, I have a circle, and this is a marigold yellow. And marigold yellow, if you've worked with glass for any time, you know that it is a striker. So it will strike to a brilliant yellow once it's done. And I want to give it a little bit more interest. So I am going to put some, sorry, my printer's making noises. I'm going to put some orange just on one side, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And I'm going to spray this with some hairspray because I know I'm going to be picking it up, and I want it to stay put when I pick it up. And I'm going to put this right here. So you can imagine as that fires, it will be that yellow with the orange, kind of a sunsetty sun that's kind of orangey. And I know that I had told you earlier I was going to use this for my middle layer, but I've changed my mind. Instead, I am going to build a layer that is mesas. And what I did to do the mesas is I just kind of roughly cut different mesa shapes. And then I used my rosing pliers and kind of just roughed it up on the edges, because those mesas, they're not really smooth, at least not where I live. So what I'm going to do with this is layer it kind of like this. But I need two things. One is that I need to make sure that it's flush on the bottom, because when I fire it and I want to make a layer out of it that's going to stand up, I'm going to need it flat on the bottom. And chances are I may need to flatten it out anyway a little bit later, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So I'm going to just play with it a little bit. I think I kind of like it like that. The other thing is I need to make sure that it is 12 inches long, because my other piece is 12 inches long. So I may have had too many mesas. Let's see. If I put it like this, maybe put this one here and maybe just cut that off. That kind of looks pretty good. I'm going to make a little mark here where I want to cut this off, and I will be right back. All that I did was cut this straight. I know it looks funny straight, but when it's part of my whole scene, it's not going to. And I'm going to use some super glue just because I want to be able to get going on this. No, maybe not. My super glue is kind of clogged up. It's the kind that's supposed to open so that you can brush it as well. There we go. Again, I'm making sure that it's 12 inches and that it's flush on the bottom. That's why I'm building it against the ruler. So here's this piece. And my other piece. I can always grind it if it's not totally flush on the bottom. And then I want some details to this. So I am going to use some woodland brown medium opal frit. And I need to decide which side is going to be shadowed. And I know that when I made my background, I put my sun over here. So if my sun's over here, it's going to be these sides here that are shadowed. So I'm going to put my frit here. I'm not going to worry too much about where it is right now. I'm just getting it on there. And I might put a little bit here and there, just because nothing's smooth on a mesa. Okay, I think I'm done. I'm just trying to give it some texture, some dimension. If you notice, all on these right sides, I have much more brown frit. That's just so that since the sun is here, it would be shadowing on that side of the mesa. Kind of gives it a little bit of more dimension. And I'm going to spray it really well with hairspray so that I can move this thing without it falling apart on me. Also gives you a little chance to see a little bit what it's going to look like, because that brown is going to be more like it is now when it's wet than it is when it is in a frit, a dry form. I'm going to let that dry. That will be my middle layer, and then when that's done, we will work on that top layer, which is going to be the cowboy on horseback, maybe some vegetation. So for my last layer, this is that piece that we had from the original step when we made the back layer. And I am going to add some ground here, but I also have this silhouette of a cowboy that I found online. And I want him actually going this way. So what I am going to do, I'm going to paint on the back of this piece here. So I taped that on. And now I'm going to use some enamels and some fairly fine brushes so that I can paint that on there. And I am using Easy Fire enamel. I get mine at Southwest Glass, or Southwest Art Glass. You can get it, I'm sure, other places. I think AAE carries it. And I am just using that as my stencil to paint. Okay, so I have my painting done. If there's any parts that are not perfect, I can use a toothpick and clean them up. Boy, did I get messy doing this too. What I'm going to do is stick this in the oven at 170 degrees for about 10 or 15 minutes until the whole thing is dry. And then I can clean it up and then I can finish the rest of my piece. So I'm gonna take a minute now and put it in the oven. My enamel is dry and I have a couple of places I want to touch up. One is that the reins I think are just too thick, so I can make them thinner just by scraping away the excess with the toothpick. Okay, and this is actually going to be this way, and it will show up better once it's fired. And let's see, I'm going to add, actually I'm going to add a cactus right here. And this I'm going to glue with my super glue. And I'm doing everything black because this is kind of, it's sunset. So this is kind of the silhouette of everything you're gonna see. And then I'm going to use my enamels again. And I do need to make some other vegetation here. Hold that down for a sec. Like I said, I didn't like this hoof here. So we can make something that just hides that. So all the enamel is dry. I decided that I didn't like the cactus up as high as it was, so I unglued it and put it back down. And I just want to add some frit down here kind of to ground everything. What I'm doing is keeping it really kind of dark tones though, because this is the shadowed part supposedly. So I'm putting some glue down here just so that my frit will stay on. And I am actually adding some black because I have so much black in my vegetation here. Again, I'm trying to keep it really dark because this is where it's all shadowed. It would look kind of funny if it was all bright and springy and everything else was brown. And this, I can't spray it with hairspray to get everything to stay because it will make my enamel run. So I'm just going to have to carefully get this to the kiln. Okay, this is ready for the kiln. I will post the schedule in the description of this video. So all of my parts have been through a slump on the wave mold, a 12-inch wave mold. So here is my foreground. You can see that it's a wave. My mesa, which is my middle layer. Again, it's a wave. And here is my background, my sunset sky. Again, it's a wave. And so what I'm needing to do is make a base for all of this. So I have 2 layers of clear that are 6 by 12. And I'm going to kind of just lay this out how I think I should have it. So I know you're getting a top view, but that way you can see that my layers are slightly apart to give it some depth. And if your layers don't sit flat, you can always use your grinder and kind of grind it a little bit. But what I'm going to do here is trace with a Sharpie where each layer should go. Ooh, that wasn't good. I apologize if you hear a screaming child in the back. We have my 2-year-old grandson visiting, and he's not happy to go to bed right now, and they're trying to get him to go to bed. And what I'm going to do, because my foreground had this brown in it, I am going to also use that brown on here. And I'm going to put quite a bit of it. And the reason for drawing my lines is that I'm going to have to make a little path where those lines are for my pieces to go. Otherwise, they won't sit flat. Unless I was doing a full fuse. If I were doing a full fuse, it wouldn't matter. But I think I might do a contour fuse on this. And I'm going to use a pencil. Hopefully I can see where I put these lines. Where did I put that line? There it is. I'm going to use a pencil and kind of follow that path so that I can make a void so it'll be nice and smooth where that piece is going to sit. Boy, he is not happy. Okay, one path. And I'm going to spray this with hairspray. That way I can get it to the kiln without everything falling off. I'm not going to worry about the Sharpie marks because they will burn off in the kiln. Now if you were using a silver Sharpie, you definitely have to get that off, but not the black. I'm going to let that dry a couple of minutes, and then I will take this to the kiln, and like I said earlier, I'm going to do a contour fuse. It'll leave a little bit of dimension, but not be super bumpy. And again, like I said before too, this is 2 layers. I'm going to leave this bottom layer under there too, just to give it some stability. So into the kiln this will go. My base is done. I know it looks kind of funny, but once we get our pieces on, it won't look so bad. And I am just using E6000. You can use what glue works for you. And I am just going along the bottom edge here. And actually, I'm wondering, I think I should do it from the front back. So I'm going to save this one for a minute. The reason is I want to put a bead of glue behind this too. So I'm going to start with my front layer. And I'll put it where I want it. And then I'm going to turn it around and put a bead of glue behind it. Just to give it a little extra stability. Okay, next layer is the mesa. I'm going to do one final inspection, make sure everything's where I want it. I think it looks pretty good. And then I'm going to let it dry. And here is what it looks like from the front. I think it portrays the American West pretty well. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Check out all the other videos on my YouTube channel, PJ's Glass Creations. You can also find me on Etsy and on Facebook, also under PJ's Glass Creations. Have fun creating. Bye.